Yo, what's going on? Shalom, family, what's going on with you? Hope everybody doing well. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day on this Thursday. Blessings to you all. Blessings to you all. Blessings to you all. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to the family. Hope everybody doing well. Hope everybody's doing well on this great and wonderful day that the Most High has made. Our Elohim, our deliverer, our redeemer, one who sent his only begotten Son to redeem us back to him, continuing to give us an opportunity to reach the hearts of men. Shalom to you all. Shalom to the family. I hope everybody's doing well. I pray that everyone's doing well. Today is definitely one of those days I think everybody is kind of going to work enthusiastic because they know that they have one more day. On tomorrow will be their Friday, and generally on some Fridays, depending on what job you work on, it's kind of a light day for some people. Some people get a chance to get off early on those days. Depends on just where you work, and also it gets ready for the Shabbat. Shalom to all the family. Thank you all for tuning in. We have some awesome things going on within the kingdom. I'm excited about the things that are going on within BOOM. With all of our congregations, I'm excited about the things that the Most High is doing with all of you who are always tuned in your individual lives and your family. And I'm excited and thankful for what the Most High has done in your life. Things that you haven't even seen yet, that has not taken place yet in the realm of time, but is already taking place within the realm of eternity. And so thank you all for tuning in. It's truly a blessing. Don't forget, man, we got this Hebrew ball coming up on the 17th. It's going to be awesome. Where brothers and sisters can get together and just have just a righteous gathering, where you can come together, have a nice kosher meal. You can dress up. It's not a feast day or anything like that. It's just brothers and sisters getting together, husband and wife, singles as well, where it's a great environment. There's music, different things like that where we could just get out and have a good time in fellowship amongst the Mishpachah. And so I'm excited about this on the 17th. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, you definitely want to get your tickets. It's going to be exciting and whatnot. So I'm just excited about it. So many things going to be going on for that night. Brothers and sisters already said they gonna come in their best. They getting their garments together and things like that. Oftentimes we schedule for feast days and things like that. With feast, and everybody get prepared and get their garment for the feast. It's more so a observance of Torah and things like that. But this isn't a feast day. It's outside of the feast. It's just a good time. Some people aren't able to go out to dance or go out and just have couple time and stuff like this. Is one of those nights where, brews can get together and we just have a good time, and it's all good. It's not, you don't have to worry about, like I say, meal not being kosher. You don't have to worry about, anything like that. You just amongst a great environment. And so it's truly a blessing to be a part of it. And so again, if you haven't gotten your tickets and you want to be a part, be a part of it, it's not too late. Again, we're about 2 weeks away. Today is the 1st. And so the 17th is going to be here before you know it, really quick. And so all of you who have subscribed to the YouTube channel, thank you all for subscribing. Thank you all for sharing the videos, the past couple of lessons. Thank all of you for hitting me up. You have been saying that you've been blessed by a lot of by the past 3 days of doing the lives over there. And I'm going to be doing more of that over there on YouTube, just to try to get people who are not on Facebook to be able to get some of the lessons and things like that. So thank you all once again. Don't forget the radio show is going down this Saturday. Oh, let me say this. On Friday night, before we get in our lesson, on Friday night, I'm so appreciative and honored to be on, I think it's Talking Real-ish show. Brother Rick King, who is hosting it, he gave me an invite to be on his show. It was supposed to be me representing the Brews. There's a white Christian brother and there's also a Muslim brother. It's supposed to be all three of us, and we're supposed to be talking about, is it too much religion? Why are things the way they are? All these different things. And so I'm pretty sure it's going to probably get a little intense. The unfortunate thing is the Muslim brother isn't able to be on, so it's just me and the white Christian brother on there. And so we're going to be talking some good stuff, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be on 1100 a.m. If you're in Atlanta, you can tune in to it. I'll have the website linked to listen to it. It's on Friday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time here in Atlanta on the radio show. And so I'm just honored to be on there to talk about it, those things. And so it's awesome. Just more news. August the 24th, we have Boom Atlanta North. Hallelujah. We have a lot of brothers and sisters that are up there in the North Georgia area that aren't able to travel an hour and 20 minutes to Jonesboro. So, the Father's just opened up so many doors for us. And so we have there, that'll be August the 24th, up in North Georgia in the Gainesville area. And we also, Jacksonville, Florida. Don't forget Boom Jacksonville. It definitely have some things going on there as well, and whatnot. So if you're in the area in Jacksonville, Florida, and you're looking for a congregation, definitely come there, be a part of that. In Atlanta this weekend, we'll be finishing up this Saturday. We'll be finishing up our 3-part series of When the Gentiles Took the Church, and that was an awesome series that we, started and building upon, and how things got into a lot of historical. We went into a lot of history on those things. And so I'm appreciative, and I thank all of you for all that you've done. Continue to keep us in prayer and things like that as we continue to tread our feet upon a lot of other territory. Don't forget to keep Boom Kenya in prayer. It is a heavily Muslim area, and so definitely keep it in prayer, but it is growing leaps and bounds in that area. They just told me there was another brother. I think he was within Catholicism. He just received Yeshua as a savior coming out of that in Boom Kenya. But not only that, he also opened his doors. He has some property that he opened his doors to Boom Kenya for them to celebrate the Feast of Trumpets. And so they'll be celebrating the Feast of Trumpets there, or Yom Teruah there, at his property, on his location. He received salvation, denouncing the Catholicism, and he has opened his doors. He has property and opened his doors to Boom Kenya. And so keep Pastor Stephen Sanko in your prayers. Again, it's a heavily Muslim area, and so we definitely want to keep them in their prayer. But they are growing and growing and growing and growing there. They started off as a small group, and now there's like a couple hundred of them now. So we will be planning a trip to go to Boom Kenya. There's a lot of people we have to baptize there. So we'll be going there between this year and next year to Kenya. And so keep them in your prayers. But anyway, let's get started. I want to talk about something that is very important. And there's 3 areas that, the title of this message is Let's Build. And we're all in a form of, ultimately, we're building the body, for the kingdom. And the thing is that it's important for us to build, but there's things we cannot forget our obligations in the building process. There are 3 areas that I posted last night for that I think that we're doing those things, a lot of things that we're doing that we're out of balance, and also some of those things are a level of selfishness, but it also derives to a point of we cannot continue or do the things that what our forefathers did, the indictments that was against them in several areas, but in 3 key components of areas that we cannot lose track and focus on. And so today, if we're going to build anything, we have to make sure that within the infrastructure of what we build, that we have to make sure that we always continue to make sure that these 3 areas are involved or injected into the infrastructure of what we're building. It doesn't matter what it is you want to build. If you say that you're an Israelite, this is an obligation. This is not an option. This is an obligation of 3 areas of focus that we have to make sure that we are inject or put in our infrastructure or focus or governing body. We have to make sure that we continue to do these things, and there has to be, without excuse, an area provided for these 3 key areas. Okay, we can keep the feast days, we can do all of these things, we can focus on whatever you want to focus on, but these are 3 areas that the Most High has told us that will be with us until the end. And these 3 areas that I'm seeing, it's a great neglect. Either you focus on one area and you're not focused on the other 2. Either you focus on 2 areas and you're not focusing on the one, or you're not focusing period on any of them at all. And at the end of the day, we continue to focus on self or these things. Yes, within the component of the assignment that is given to us, there is still areas that we cannot neglect or deny. So if we're going to build, let's make sure, I don't care what it is, ministry, nonprofit, whatever it is you talk about building, if you identify and you embrace the culture of Israel as an Israelite, these areas are a must that you have to deal with. It's a part of the infrastructure, okay? It is a must, not an option, okay? It is a must, not an option. It's the Most High isn't looking at the lack of finances that you don't have when it comes to these areas. Let me say that again. You can talk about the debt and the lack of finance that you have. The Most High is still looking at you and saying, and it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter. You still have to find a way to provide for these 3 areas. As I travel up and down the road, one particular area that I see a lot of people that are homeless. I see a lot of people, and we're not talking about people that are strung out on drugs. We're not talking about people that are alcoholics. We're talking about genuine people, because your Ruach tells you, your Holy Spirit tells you, if this person is on drugs, if this person is just trying to get another bottle. But then there are those who are in genuine situations. Loss of jobs, loss of family, been kicked out since they was a teenager, just haven't been able to find those steps. I'm seeing people who are homeless, and I'm like, yo, what are we going to do? We talking about building everything else. We talking about building assemblies, congregations, all these things, but yet, what are we going to do? We're talking individual. We have an individual obligation to make sure that these areas are covered. Now, that doesn't mean that one individual is going to cover the entire nation of America. Let's be realistic. That's not what I'm talking about. But you have an opportunity every single day where you come across someone that you can impact their lives and do those things commanded of us in Torah. Even as a congregation, or even as a community, even as an assembly, whatever you want to call it, you still have an obligation. When was the last time someone was homeless? When was the last time you came across an orphan? When was the last time you visited the orphanage? When was the last time you took care of a widow or went and seen about a widow? Many of you have widows in your family and you still haven't went and seen about them. You know the old lady that lives across the street from you. You know that her husband passed. Shalom, Brother Ralph. You know that her husband passed like 2 years ago. And you ain't even going over there to cut her grass. You're not going to take her trash out. You're not going to check on her to see if she need anything. But you're going about your daily, every day. You're going to your Shabbat service. You're doing your Facebook Lives. You're doing all this stuff. We're talking about coming together as a nation, but yet we have people who are orphans. We have people who are hungry, who are homeless. We have widows, and we ain't doing nothing. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we building? And within our building, what type of plans do we have? Is it about us? Is it about me? Is it about you? What about those people? What type of plan do you have included into your infrastructure for those type of people? What is the plan? James chapter number 1. James chapter number 1 and verse number 22. So let's cover the area of orphans. Let's get some scripture to deal with the orphans. We're going to deal with New Testament and Old Testament to show you that it doesn't matter if it's the Torah, if it's the Tanakh. It doesn't matter if it's the Brit Hadashah. It doesn't matter if it's the Old Testament or the New Testament. It doesn't matter. There's a constant theme. Everybody want to talk about rulership. And everybody want to talk about who going into slavery. And everybody want to talk about who the Israel is. But yet at the same time, these brothers in these scriptures understood one thing. They didn't focus on Esau. They didn't focus on who this person was and who that person was. That wasn't a lot of their main focus. No, their focus was walking Torah. Now we're going to talk about culture. If we're going to talk about culture, we're going to talk about heritage, salvation, all of these things, we still have to have the obligation and the conversation of what are we going to do for the orphan? What are we going to do for the widow? And what are we going to do for the homeless? What are we going to do for these? Are we going to leave them out of the equation? Are we going to leave them out of the equation? And just continue to argue and debate and talk about all this other stuff. And yet, what type of work are we doing? James chapter number 1, verse number 22. Now, we always talk about being doers of the law. And we love to talk about, well, whosoever is a doer of the law, who's not a doer of the law. We have these dialogues and these conversations all the time. When it comes down to debate about, is the law done away with? Is the law not done away with? And then we love to read, quote, yeah, if a man doesn't walk as he walked. Okay, let's see. See, you can't do one without the other. Because even Hamashiach, the way he walked, he kept the Torah. And the aspect of it in Israel was always, you need to make sure that you provide for the homeless. You need to make sure that you provide for the fatherless. And you need to make sure that you provide for the widow. And every time when an indictment came up against the leaders of Israel, these three were indictments against them. So now you want to be an Israelite. You want to say that I'm an Israelite. You want to say I keep Torah. You want to say I keep feast days and dietary law and all this stuff. This is also a major indictment that was against Israel and its leaders for neglecting the homeless, neglecting the widows, and neglecting the orphans. And guess what? We're still doing it today. The indictment has not changed. The indictment has not changed. This isn't a new conversation. This is something that I've been talking to y'all about and putting in act. We can't go deeper if we ain't even learned how to swim yet. We're still trying to learn how to walk this thing out, which this is elementary. This should be elementary. These are things that we should do like second nature. The same way we want to debate and argue, the same way we want to point out other people's faults. Again, I keep telling you that the Most High has an alt against Israel. He's always had one. And it's always been the leaders. We talking about every other thing, pointing out this, who's Esau, who's the Gentile, who the fake Jews are, all these different things. Women not being in order, all these other things, and yet ain't nobody talking about feeding the homeless, ain't nobody talking about feeding the orphans, ain't nobody talking about saying about the widows. These are things that we have to address if we're going to build anything. James 1:22. But be ye doers of the word. Be ye doers of the word. What is he? Let's see what the context of what he's talking about doing. Let's see what the context of him talking about doing means when it comes down to certain areas. If you're going to be a doer of the word, do it. Do the word. Do it. If you're going to do a doer of the word, do it, all of it. Don't play around with it. Don't just be focusing on one area of it. Do all of it. Do what is instructed, especially if you're talking about you're a leader out here. We're going to find out real quick, it's a whole lot of folks ain't leaders. There's a lot of things brothers omitting, not focusing on. This is a major part of our culture. Blessings to you as well, Brother B. Bros. Verse 22, but be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own self. I'm righteous. I keep the Torah. Them wicked such and such, that wicked such and such over there. The only person that the Most High dealing with is us. Yeah, you're right. He gonna deal with you too. And the only people you ain't dealing with are orphans, homeless, and widows. The three you're not dealing with. But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself, and goeth in his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the works. Of the works. What works? Let's look at it. This man shall be blessed in his deeds. All right. Verse number 26. If any man among you seem to be religious, and bridleth not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man religion is vain. Pure religion and undefiled before Yah and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless, the orphans. Let me read that again. Verse number 27. Pure religion and undefiled before Yah and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, their lack, their struggle. When the last time you visited the homeless? When the last time you visited the fatherless? When the last time you visited a widow? When was the last time? We visited Torah, we visited the feast days, we visited other brothers, we visited other congregations, we hung out with this brother, we hung out with that, we done visited all these things, we visited these different lands, we done visited Israel, we done visited all these places, and yet you got homeless, bruised in your country, whether they acknowledge it or not. You have orphans who are fatherless, who are people trying to find an adoption for them. When the last time you just went down to the orphanage and just say, hey, listen, I just want to come visit some of these children to give them hope. Do you know what the visit does? Visiting orphans gives them hope. The Most High smiles upon that, because why? He didn't leave you fatherless. And somebody out here left them fatherless. And so as a nation, we have an obligation, whether you're their biological father or not, you still have an obligation to go to the orphanage and give them hope. But don't nobody want to talk about this. We too busy talking about Esau. We too busy talking about our rulership and who we gonna be ruling and who gonna be in chains and who gonna, we too busy talking about all this stuff, and you got orphanage right in your community, right in your city, and you haven't went to go visit them. You got a homeless person that you pass by right every single day at the red light. You know that your ruach, your spirit man, is telling you that this brother or this sister is in need, not because they want the next high, not because they want the next bottle, but they are seriously in need, and yet you do nothing. But look what the Most High says, James chapter number 1 and verse 27. Pure religion and undefiled before Yah and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless, to visit them, to visit the fatherless and widows. Go visit the widow. Do you know what it does to the widow's spirit? It continues to let her know that somebody out here care. Because oftentimes people who are widows, they don't really have even family that come even visit them. And yet you live right across the street, and you know that she been living in your neighborhood for 15, 20 years, lost her husband, and you ain't been over there one time to take out her garbage. You ain't been over there one time just to sit with her and have a conversation. Not one time. And you've been living across the street from her for 20 years, and you said nothing. All you did was wave and throw up your hand, and that's it. Especially if you say you an Israelite and you in the truth. Nobody should be outperforming us, but we out talking everybody. to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. You want to be unspotted? You want to be considered righteous in the eyes of the Most High? You want him to smile upon you? You want him to favor your household? Visit the homeless, provide for the homeless, visit the orphans, visit the widows. That's still loving your brother and your sister as yourself. That's still loving your brother and your sister as yourself. But you only want to do for them if they're acknowledging, absolutely, Minister Church, you only want to have some form of provision for them if they identify as Israel. The Most High ain't tell you that. The Most High didn't tell you to only do for them or only visit the orphan or only visit the widow or only see about the homeless if they identify as Israel. He didn't tell you that. He did not tell you that. Minister Church, you crazy, brother. But that's facts. Isaiah chapter number 58. Isaiah chapter number 58. If we're going to build, let's not forget our obligation. If we're going to build anything, let us not forget our obligation. He told the rich young ruler, hey, listen, go sell all that you have, give to the poor. What? Sell all you have and give to who? Come on, Israel. I need somebody to post that on the screen. Sell all you have and give to who? And then after you give it to them, the less fortunate, those who in their affliction, then come follow me. Come on, I need y'all to put that. Y'all know Bible. Come on, y'all know Bible. Put it up on the, come on now, put on. Sell all that you have. The rich young ruler asked, hey, listen, he said, look, I've kept all the Torah. I kept the Torah since my youth. He said, but yet you lack one thing. What was the indictment against him? You got all this wealth, you got all this stuff, and you ain't gave to nobody. You've given it to nobody that is in any form of affliction. All you've done was kept it to yourself. So if you want to follow me, that area that you're weak in, you're going to have to give that up for me to make you strong. Because that's your stronghold. It's your bread. You say you keeping Torah, but not one time did you visit the orphan. Not one time did you get to the widow. Not one time did you give to the homeless. Go, sell it, give it to them, to the unfortunate, those who are in affliction, those who are afflicted, and then come follow me. I can't do it. He said, I can't do it. I can't do that. Why would I give to them? That's what he's saying. Why would I give to them when I'm thinking about me? Isaiah 58 and verse number 6. Is not this the fast that I have chosen? Listen to the Most High through the prophet. To loose the bands of wickedness, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens. I want y'all to listen to this. To undo the heavy burdens. And to let the oppressed go free. How is he going to let the oppressed go free? And that ye break every yoke. Listen to this. These are questions. Look what he says. Verse number 7. Here it is. Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry? And that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house? This was always an indictment against the leadership in Israel, man. You ain't giving to the poor. You're not housing the homeless. You ain't going to see about the widows, but you want to walk around here and love to hear people call you rabbi and teacher and acknowledge you as something great. You love hanging out with your other scholars and teachers and all these other things, and you ain't giving to nobody that's in any affliction. Absolutely nobody. You ain't going to see about them. You can study though. You can study this Bible for hours, but you ain't going to sit with nobody. You ain't going to sit with nobody for 30 minutes. That's an orphan. You ain't going to sit with nobody that's a widow for 30 minutes to an hour. No. No, you'll study this Bible for days without losing sleep. You'll study this Bible in and out, but you ain't going to do nothing. That was the same indictment against the Pharisees. You know all this Torah, but you ain't put nothing in practice. That's why Hamashiach said, don't be like them. They're hypocrites. For they teach and do not. They talk and they do not. They study and they do not. This was always the indictment. I don't care how big your house is. I don't care how many cars you have. I don't care how many fringes are on your garments. I don't care how many tassels you wear. I don't care how big your beard is. I don't care any of that. The Most High said, you still ain't focusing or doing what I told you to do when it comes down to loving your brother as yourself. You can win all the awards you want. You can be on all the websites you want. You can be in all the magazines you want, on the cover. You ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing nothing. But Deacon Riddick, that's what they got mad at Hamashiach for that. They got mad at the apostle for the same thing. I'm probably been kicked out. I mean, to be honest with you. But as long as I ain't kicked out the kingdom, it don't matter to me. You have to say what thus saith the Most High. Look at what he says. And we coming out the book. Listen to what he says. To loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke. Verse 7 of Isaiah 58. Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry? This is why Hamashiach said, look, hey, he didn't say, hey, the Talmudim disciples, hey, listen, hey, Peter and all y'all other brothers, why don't y'all go ask them people how much money they want? Why don't y'all go ask them people how much money they got so we can take a collection of their money? Hey, what's going on, sister? I hope to see you next month in Jacksonville. He didn't say go and collect the money from this crowd. Obviously, it was hundreds and probably thousands of people following him. He didn't ask them. He didn't ask his 12 to go to those thousands of people and get with baskets and collect all the money from them. That ain't what he said. You know what he told his disciples? He said, they said, all these people are following. We got to send them home. These people are hungry. He said, you feed them. If they've been following us for days, they don't have a place to stay. They don't have a place to stay because they've been following us for days, probably for months, some of them. They don't have no food, so they hungry. So now they got children with them. Guess what? You got at that one location, you got the homeless. You got some widows probably was following, and you also have some children, meaning that some of them children were probably fatherless too. You had all three people in one area, and you know what he told the apostles, the disciples at the time? He said, you feed them. He said, how much money do you got? See, if we're gonna teach this book, teach the book. Stop trying to take partial of the area of the book. Get some revelation of what's going on in the scripts. That's why he told them to feed them. Why? Because he was keeping Torah. Take care of the homeless, take care of the fatherless, take care of the widows. And I'm pretty sure in that crowd, it was at least all three within that crowd. It was some brothers there too, but I'm just telling you, because there was crowds and thousands of people following them. Hey, you feed them. You get how much y'all got. Y'all put y'all money together. Go buy what you can. You want a miracle to take place? It ain't how much you got. It's are you willing to give it up? Not for your sake, but for those who are afflicted sake. Don't give something up so you can be built up. Give something up so somebody else can be built up. And the Most High gonna build you in the process. We don't have nothing but a couple of sardines and a couple pieces of bread. Okay, that's enough. Because of your heart and your obedience to what I told you, that's contained in Torah, for providing for the homeless, for providing for the orphan, and providing for the widow, I'm going to pray and my Father is going to manifest the lack. We want the lack to end. Give up stuff for somebody else and watch how the Most High respond. You want your house to overflow? Give up something to somebody else that don't have. And watch how the Most High pour into you. You know why? Because that says you trust me, for one, for me to provide for you. But not only that, you loving your brother as yourself. I have to respond to my word in my Torah. But if you think you're going to save yourself and hope that somebody else catch on or trickle down to them, that's no different than the government. No, it starts with us. If we become selfless and not selfish, the Most High respond. And we don't have to worry about our circle or our influence or our area or the territory we in. We won't have to worry about the Most High responding and abundance flowing. Let's go to Job chapter 31. I hope I'm helping somebody. I hope y'all getting this, man. Because Israel, we gotta get it together. We gotta get it together on so many levels. Gotta get it together. Hope y'all are blessed. Job 31. Let's go to Job 31. And we're going to start at verse number 16. All right. Job 31 and 16. Job 31 and 16. If I have withheld the poor from their desire, or have caused the eyes of the widow to fail, or have eaten my morsel myself alone, and the fatherless have not eaten thereof. Verse number 18. For from my youth he was brought up with me as with a father, and I have guided her from my mother's womb. If I have seen any perish for wanting of clothing, or any poor without covering, if his loins have not blessed me, and if he were not warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have lifted up my hand against the fatherless, when I saw my help in the gates, then let my arm fall from my shoulder blade, and my arm be broken from the bone. Listen to that. If I ain't took care of these folks, if I ain't went and seen about the fatherless or the widows, let my arms be broken. Meaning, these arms is a form of that's going to bring provision for me. If I'm not taking care of them or seeing about them, then my arms is useless. I don't need my arms to work. I don't need to till the ground or do anything that's going to bring me finances, because it's all about being selfish. But yet, if my arms are not broken, then let me be providing for these three areas. So when you read this, this is what the brother is saying. We have to get an understanding of this thing, man. We going through old to new. Now, let's deal with the widows. We just dealt with the orphans. Now, let's deal a little more directly with the widows. We're going to go to Shalom, Sister Sarah. We're going to go to Psalm 68. Let's go to Psalm 68. Psalm 68, and we're going to start at verse number 3. But let the righteous be glad. Let them rejoice before Yah. Yea, let them exceedingly rejoice. Why? Why? Here's why. Sing unto Yah. Oh, sing. See, folks don't want to deal with Psalms. Especially, if you coming against worship, you got a problem. You ain't read no book. You ain't read no book. All throughout this book, it's going to be, that's a whole nother conversation. I ain't going to get into that. Okay, verse number 4. Let's look at what it says here. Sing unto God, or Yah. Sing praises to his name. Extol him that rideth upon the heavens by his name, Jah. And rejoice before him. Verse number 5, look what it says. A father to the fathers. See that? The Lord, the Elohim, is a father to the fatherless. We can talk all this stuff all we want. Again, it goes right back to the subject of debate. We want to debate everything under the sun. Stuff that the Most High ain't even told us to even talk about or debate about. But he sure told us to make sure we take care of the homeless. He sure told us to make sure we go see about the widow. He sure told us to make sure we go see about the orphan. We doing everything but not investing time into them. We talking and arguing about everything under the sun. I mean, I look across the atmosphere, across the board, and I see debate. I mean, and some of these subjects of debate are the same debate subject. And when you listen to these debates, I can listen to 10 debates and all 10 of them using the same scripture, and ain't nobody changing. But ain't nobody talking about debating about who not feeding the homeless. Ain't nobody debating about who not going to see about the orphan. Ain't nobody debating about who not going to see about the widow. But yet half these folks live across the street in the vicinity, have people in their family that are widows and they ain't went and seen them one time. If we say we're going to do the work, put your hand to the plow, man. and do the work. And do the work. Do the work. All of these were indictments against leaders within Israel. He called them hypocrites. Don't be like them. Teach and they do not. Accuse and they do not. He said, listen to what they say when it comes down to living according to the commandments given to Moses, but do not do as they do. The issue was not what they were teaching. The issue was how they were not following what they were teaching. And in today's time, we got the same issue. Everybody want to talk about this person over here is wicked, that person we're righteous, the Most High only dealing with us, and Israel this and Israel that, and the Christians this and the Christian that, and this, that, and the Christians saying that the Israelites is this and they that, and they wicked, and they the Israelites saying that the white man is the Bible that the devil speaks of. The Christian turn around and saying, yeah, they caught up in strange doctrines that they were speaking about in the last days, and nobody taking care of orphan. Everybody, the Most High got an indictment against both of y'all, and ain't nobody saying about the orphanage, ain't nobody saying about the widow, and ain't nobody saying about the homeless, but everybody can get on Facebook, on YouTube, and on live. They got an apologetic for everything, and ain't nobody doing nothing. Everybody, they're talking about degrees and books. I'm tired of seeing your book catalog. When you gonna do something? I don't want to hear about another book. That's why I don't post my books, how many books I got and all this stuff. I don't post none of that stuff. For what? Because it's going to put you more into a deeper area of knowledge and you ain't going to do nothing. You say, that the Most High coming back, beloved, it behooves you to get to work. Because the poor were going to be with us until the end. The orphan going to be with us until the end. And the homeless and the widow going to be with us until the end. And these are 3 areas that the Most High requires for us to make sure that we add into our infrastructure. So no matter what we build, we have to make sure that these 3 areas are incorporated within the infrastructure of what we're building. If we're not incorporating these into the infrastructure, then what is it all for? Because Yeshua did it. He taught his disciples to do it. That's why we're going from the Old Testament to the New Testament, back and forth, to show you that this has always been a subject and an issue of the day amongst the leaders who were not doing anything. And this is why the Most High is building, because we ain't building nothing. This is the reason why he's building his kingdom the way he want to build it. And who's going to be in his kingdom is who he wants to be in it. And the people that are there are going to be people who he wants to be there. And as long as you continue to look at all this other stuff, look at the outside of man, you're going to miss it. And not grab the concept and the understanding of the spirit behind it. The law is spirit. And so if the law is also spirit and the law is upon your heart, then you should be walking in the spirit, meaning you are a doer and not just a hearer. So as a doer, I have an obligation to make sure that if I see a homeless person and my Ruach, my Holy Spirit tells me that this person is not around here trying to get another drink, not trying to be an alcoholic, not trying to get on drugs, but they are genuinely, because your discernment level, this is why I keep telling y'all in these last days, pray for a high level of discernment. You need to know who is who and what's working behind the person and the individual and what's on the person and the individual. Because the deception is great on both sides in these days and time. If Hasatan is going to deceive the world, meaning it's a whole lot of group of people he going to deceive and going to use. The same way the kingdom is made up of a vast, the same way the kingdom of darkness is vast, in its cultural context. We cannot get caught up in it. Our prayer needs to be for a high level of, Father, I pray that the assembly and the congregation of the church that you are building, that they have a level of discernment to where when a person comes in before they open their mouth, you know who they are. But if our prayer is not that we're going to be tricked and deceived every single time. Let's keep reading. All right. Verse number 5, Psalm 68. A father of the fatherless and a judge of the widows is God in his holy habitation. God setteth in solidarity in families. He bringeth out those which are bound with chains, but the rebellious dwell in a dry land. All right, let's go over here to what's going on, my brother I.J. West. Let's go over to Deuteronomy. Let's jump over to Deuteronomy really quick. Okay. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter number 27. I want to look at Deuteronomy 27. Let's go. We're going to go into the Torah. Let's see what instruction was given. All right, so we're dealing with the widows, okay? And again, even in the New Testament, in the book of Acts, there was an indictment that was also brought up. I think it was Acts or Corinthians. I get it mixed up. But there was an indictment that was brought against the leadership within Israel that the widows were not being provided for. That was also in the New Testament. That was in the New Testament. Shalom to you, brother. It was also in the New Testament. So there was an indictment from the Old and the New Testament. But let's look at this right here, okay? All right, let's look at verse number 19. Deuteronomy chapter number 27 and 19. Look what he says. Cursed be he that perverteth the judgment of the stranger. Uh-oh. We'll deal with that stranger thing later. Cursed be he that perverteth the judgment of the stranger, fatherless, and widow. Amen. Listen to what he said. He says, curse be those that feel as though that the homeless, the fatherless are not a serious obligation. Meaning that cursed be the person that puts them on the back burner. They're not important right now. It's about us, and it's about me, and it's about those of us who are awakened and all this other. He said, cursed be that individual that puts the fatherless and the widow on the back burner. So a lot of curses are self-inflicted. Ooh, 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 hallelujah. We talk about Deuteronomy 28 and the curses of Deuteronomy 28. But there's a lot of curses that we have brought on ourselves. They are self-inflicted because we refuse to do what the Most High said. And this ain't this. This is right. This is the chapter before it, verse chapter 28. So many of these curses, and we can go through all throughout the book. Some of them you brought on yourself because you decided to ignore his instruction. This is why I say eat. This is why I say eat the book. Don't just pick and choose and read what you want and focus more on this area, focus on that. No, eat the book. Comb it. But not only comb it and not only read it, not only study it, not only let it get in your spirit, man, in your ruach, but be a doer of it after you've consumed it. Don't just be a couch potato. Don't eat, be all full, sit on the couch with your stomach, rubbing your stomach, flipping the remote. No. After you eat, get out there and exercise. Do the work. Get out there and do the work. Don't just consume it, but go out there and do it. Exodus 22. Exodus 20. Let's go. We're going to go to Exodus. Exodus chapter number 22. Come on, Israel. Let's get it together. Exodus 22. Look what it says. Ye shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. Verse number 23. If thou afflict them in any way, if you afflict them in any way, listen to what it says. And they cry at all unto me. Ooh, I keep telling y'all, man. I keep telling y'all, listen, man. The Most High is not playing with these folks, man. The Most High is not playing with these folks. Listen, if a orphan, let's break this down. If a orphan, let's deal with this cry. Okay, let's deal with this cry. All right, look at what it says. If they cry unto, meaning this, they don't even have to know his name. Ooh. I want y'all to hear this. Listen. The simple cry of a child desiring to have a father. Come on, I need y'all to listen. I need y'all to catch this in y'all ruah. Listen to this. A child down at an orphanage that is desiring to have a relationship with the father. And the child is crying out simply because of the desire. And we aren't even going about our business to go tend and see about them to give them hope. The Most High coming for you. The Most High coming and he dealing with you. Especially if you call yourself an Israelite. He gonna deal with you. He's gonna deal. I'm telling you, he's dealing, and he's already dealing with folks. He's already dealing with folks. He's already dealing with them. Look what it says. If thou afflict them in any wise, if any wise, it don't matter what it is. It doesn't matter. And they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry. Did not the children of Israel, when they were in Egypt, did they not cry out to the Most High? And they had, by that time, they had forgotten his name. They had forgotten who he was. They didn't, but just for their crying out, he responded. And he told Moses, he said, I have heard the cries of Israel. I heard their cries. And they didn't even know my name. The orphans don't have to know, because at that point, the Most High is covering the young in their ignorance. The same way he covers the old in their ignorance, according to Numbers, the grace in Numbers that covers the ignorant. The Most High is covering these children. Doesn't matter. If they're in an orphan, they're crying out. They're desiring to have because the Most High said, I didn't leave you fatherless. So therefore, it's your obligation. If you're going to say he's dealing with nobody but you, then it's your obligation to go see about him. If you saying the Most High ain't dealt, we love to quote this, he ain't dealt so with no other nigga. You right, he ain't dealt so with no other thing. He gonna deal with you in this aspect too. Because you sitting up here and you claim that you know better, he dealing with only you and ain't nobody else, then why you ain't doing it? Why you not doing the work? Why you not going to see about him? We have an obligation. Let's keep reading. Verse number 24. And my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. These orphans are crying out. And the Most High said, because you ignored them and you refused to tend to them and see about them, he said, and the orphans and the widow. He said, and my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives, men, shall be widows, and your children shall be fatherless. Whoo, man. Man, look at him, man. Man, look at him, man. All right, let's jump over here. Let's deal with the homeless, and we're gonna get on out of here. Let's deal with the homeless. We're gonna get out of here, man. Let's deal with the homeless. We're gonna get out of here. All right. Let's deal with the homeless. And get on out of here, boy, I tell you. Wow. Let's go to Proverbs chapter number 14. What's going on, Moray, James, Robert? Proverbs 14 and verse 31. Now let's deal with the homeless. We done dealt with the widows and the orphans. Now let's deal with the homeless. He that oppresseth the poor reproacheth his maker, but he that honoreth him hath mercy on the poor. The wicked is driven away in his wickedness, but the righteous have hope in his death. Wisdom resteth in the heart of him that hath understanding, but that which is in the midst of fools is made known. Righteousness exalted a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. Sin is a reproach to any people. The king's favor is toward a wise servant, but his wrath is against him that causeth shame. All right, jump over here. We're going to read a couple more scriptures. I'm not going to elaborate too much. We've already kind of been on here long enough. But let's jump over here to Deuteronomy. Jump back over to Deuteronomy. Okay. Let's jump to Deuteronomy 15. Deuteronomy chapter number 15 and verse number 11. For the poor shall never cease out of the land, for the poor will be with you always. Therefore I command thee, saying, therefore I give you a commandment, thou shalt open thy hand wide unto thy brother. Lord have mercy. To the poor. Why? It just seems it's a common theme when it comes down to charity, when it comes down to giving, especially in these aspects. We're not talking about temple duties or anything like that. We're talking about when it comes down to those who are afflicted, in a position of not having things, or less fortunate, as people say. He says, the poor. He said, your hand need to be wide open. Shalom, Sister Beverly. Your hand should be wide open, meaning your hand shouldn't be selfish. You shouldn't be thinking about yourself all the time. And if you're going to build anything, there has to be something in place for those that don't have. Look what he says. Thou shalt open thy hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor, and to thy needy in thy land. Okay? Let's read, jump over to Ezekiel 16. Ezekiel 16 and verse number 49. Don't worry about that. Don't worry. Let's jump over to Matthew. Now we'll go to Ezekiel. Let's go to Ezekiel 16:49. Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom, pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her, and in her daughters neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. Meaning that we know that Sodom was prosperous. Now, we ain't talking about some of the acts that Sodom was performing all that type of trying to have having sexual desires for angels or men of the Most High or messengers. We ain't talking about that. A lot of, but their problem also too was they were selfish. They were a wealthy community of people, and yet even in their wealth before their fall, before their desires of same sex and all these other things, Sodom was plenteous, and yet they did nothing for their poor. They did not strengthen the hand of the needy. They did absolutely nothing for them. And so there was an indictment against Sodom too. Just like there's an indictment against all the leaders in Israel for doing the same thing. It's the same thing, beloved. Now let's go to one more scripture and we're done. If you're just not jumping on, you're going to have to catch the replay. All right. You're going to have to catch the replay. Matthew chapter number 25. And we're going to be done. Matthew 25. Matthew 25 and 35. Now let's listen to what Yeshua HaMashiach has to say. Or Jesus the Christ, as many call him. Okay. Matthew 25 and 35. Look what it says. For I was hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee? He ain't talking about the wicked, he talking about the righteous. This is what he would say, what the righteous say to him. Because here's the reason why the righteous ain't concerned about a lot of things that folks, see, when you're concerned about, and you got all this, you got to go through a checklist of all this other stuff, then you're not really concerned about doing the work. You're more so concerned about self. Okay, but look what he says. He says, then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, or Elohim, when saw we thee? When did we see you? A hunger, and fed thee, or thirsty and gave it. When did we see this? When did you do it? He said the righteous gonna say this. So he's also already calculating and already factoring in when he's gone that there are going to be people who are going to be doing the work who never saw laid eyes on him. But yet they're blessed, and because they believe and have not seen. And therefore their belief and their hearing calls them to do. Look what it says. Verse 38. When we saw thee a stranger and took you in, or naked and clothed you. When did we do all this? Or when saw we thee sick or in prison and came to visit you? In verse 40 he says, and the king shall answer and say unto them, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, ye have done it unto me. The least of them, the orphan, the widow, the homeless, the three that people have forgotten about, have become the least because everything else have become a greater obligation than they. I pray that you cannot eat without eating from the word of Yah, for man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeded out of the mouth of Yah. I pray that you cannot drink without drinking from the living water that flows from Christ. Let the light that is within you shine bright outside of you. And remember this, beloved, to love one another so that the world may know that we serve the true and living Yah. Until next time, beloved, I pray that this word not only is deposited in you, but I pray that it manifests. I pray that you're not just a hearer of the word, but I pray that you are a doer of the word. Love all of you with the love of a Mashiach. On today, make sure that you reach somebody. Make sure that you become a great witness on today, no matter where it is. And don't forget, if you love what you're hearing and you're watching from YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you have not followed us on YouTube, then make sure that you go to It's Majors 1. It's Majors 1. That's ITS MAJORS 1 on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget also this weekend, this Saturday, we have Sabbath service in Jonesboro, Georgia. If you need the information and the location, we're going to be finishing up the part 3 of our series on when the Gentiles took the church. We've just built up the whole historical drop of how paganism started from Nimrod and how it went through all of the different nations and ultimately kind of crept in unto the early body of believers, onto the early church, or to the early assembly, congregation, whichever one you want to call it. All right. Post-Nicene Council. Not pre-Nicene Council, but post-Nicene Council. That's very important to understand. There was a lot of things that happened after the Nicene Council, okay, that did not, that were not a part of the early believers before the Nicene Council, okay? That's not to blame the Nicene Council. That's not what I'm doing here, okay? I want to clear that up before somebody think that. No, what I'm saying is post that, a lot of things occurred with the body, especially when kind of Constantine got his hands more involved in things. But we did a historical background, historical drop of that, and we're finishing up part 3 of that. And we're going to get into a little more, and so we'll finish that up. And then it's just been a blessing. Also, don't forget the radio show is on Saturday at 3 p.m. on 8:60 a.m. Okay, here in Atlanta. All right. So I love you all with the love of Christ, and I'll see you then. All right. Bless you all in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. All right. Shalom.